Hi there, Ryan Rastall here for Golfshake.com, PGA professional here at Howley Hall Golf Club in Leeds and equipment expert for Golfshake.com. Today we have the new DS-ADAPT Fairway Woods from Cobra to take you through, but before we look at all that, have a bit of a look at what they look like. So in my opinion, Cobra fairway woods are always amongst the best out there on the market. Over the past sort of 10, 15 years really, they've made some amazing fairway wood products, and certainly ones that have gone in the bags of uncontracted players when you look at the tour. So the new DS-ADAPT is, as the name would suggest, an adaptation of the dark speed range that was out in 2024, okay? So there's been a few additions, adaptations, and changes to the tech to really make these fairway woods suit, you know, a more of a broader range and vaster majority of the golfing public really out there. So we've got three different models. We've got the LS, we've got the X, and the Max in here. So those of you that have seen the driver video we've done, you know, there's 4 models in that. There is now 3 in the fairway, so a slightly tighter range, very similar to what we've seen over the past few seasons. So in the LS, we can see that we've got this weighting system in here. So we've got 3 weights actually in the head that move around, and there's 34 grams of tungsten in the front of this head to make it as low spin as possible. When we look at the X, we've obviously got this weight at the back there that you can get different weights to change the way that these heads move, but this is kind of low forward CG with some weight in there with the power bridge technology. And then in the Max version, we've obviously got this ability to make it even more draw bias. We've got 2 weights here we can switch over, so a 13 gram and a 3 gram there, to either shift the CG even further back, because the weight in here is really positioned towards the back of this fairway wood to make it go as high as possible, and launch and spin a little bit more. But also you can move it into the heel and make it more draw bias if you want to. Now, the biggest technological change in this is the Future Fit 33 cog system that we see that has been introduced by Cobra this year. So this gives us 33 different settings for each of these fairway woods to really fine tune them for every golfer out there on the market. So no matter who you are, how you deliver it, how you swing it, there will be a setting in these fairway woods to help you. So we've also got the hot face technology. So this is where Cobra are able to make thinner and thicker parts of the face to maximize ball speed on off-center hits. Also, the kind of profile of these has changed a little bit. You may not be able to see this with the naked eye, but certainly when we go from the LS there down to the X, so they get progressively kind of shallower in the profile and the depth of the face. So from LS down to the Max, it really just slimmed down a hell of a lot. That helps get the CG lower in the Max and also helps you get it in the air a little bit better. So for those of you that struggle with the fairway woods to get them off the ground and get that kind of really high flight that would love to hit really with a fairway wood, some of this has been thought about when just looking at how steep the face is. So if we make it shallower, the CG gets lower, more under the ball, and hopefully helps you hit it that little bit higher. So yeah, I'm kind of going to give you more feedback on what they look like, what they feel like, and also have a bit of a look at some of the numbers as well. So let's go and hit some. So let's hit a few with the LS. Again, remember we've got it in that slightly more lofted setting, so kind of just less than 16 degrees really, so it's kind of a 3/4 wood. Looks really nice behind the ball. I think in terms of the way it sits, probably the nicest of the lot. I really like the finish on the top of it as well. Feels very powerful off the face too, wow. That did feel good, like a bullet. That's gone a long way as well. Yeah, I mean, that has kind of really flattened the flight out, which you'd expect really with this type of fairway wood. You know, it's low spin, lower launching, but felt great. Again, that has come out like a bullet. That's really good. Very, very impressed. Yeah, very strong flight. Looks really good on there as well. It'll be interesting to see when we compare all these, how they go. But yeah, I'm going to hit a few more with this, then we'll move on to the next model. So the X model, remember, we've still got a nice forward CG in this, so we should still see, you know, a decent, nice penetrating flight. Different shape, a bit more rounded to this one, which I don't mind at all. Let's see what it feels like. Again, sounds great off the face. Definitely more height on it. I quite like that actually, really, really good. Bit more controllable sort of flight on that, I think, as well. A bit more confidence inspiring when you sit it behind the ball. I like that slightly, looks a bit bigger and rounder sort of head. And again, just feels just as good off the face as the low spin model. That's gone really high, but again, really good distance on it as well. Yeah, I like this, really, really good. Both of them great, to be honest. This one just feels that bit more playable, like I could, you know, probably hit a few more fairways with it potentially. Very good. Right, let's try the max. So let's hit a few with the max. Reminder, this is a 5 wood. I've cranked it down as low as I possibly can, but I don't think it's going to get anywhere near the distance of the other two. But in terms of looks, nice, it's bigger. Well, it's not actually smaller, but it kind of appears bigger because of the shape. But it's more draw bias, 100%. Yeah, so we can see when you sit it behind it, it just looks deeper from sort of front to back. It's more of like a, not triangular shape, but it kind of draws the eye a little bit more back here. But yeah, that more draw bias appearance to it, I think is going to appeal to quite a lot of people, to be honest. Let's see what it feels like. Certainly easier to get in the air. I mean, that has gone very high, but that's what it's designed to do. It's very, very good, very easy to pick up off the ground, very easy to flight, very easy to get airborne. Just feels like I've got that shot in me a little bit with it. It's just going to turn over that bit too much. That's actually not gone as far left as I thought it was going to. Very different feel. It sounds a bit more tinny and metallic when you hit it as well, which I don't mind, but it's different to the other two that are a little bit punchier and a little bit, you know, more kind of impressive sounding, I suppose, off the face. But yeah, I really like the look of it. The shape is very different and the feel's very different, but the results look pretty good. Right, I'm going to hit a few more with each of these, probably do it in different orders as well, and then we'll have a bit of a look at the results. So let's take a bit of a look at the results. Like we said at the start, we were always going to struggle to get that 5 wood anywhere near the 3 woods, and we almost would kind of discount it from a comparison, I suppose. The max set 16.6 degrees, so that should say 16.5 actually, because I've sort of knocked it down by 2. So as standard, it's 18.5 degrees, that fairway. So 16.5 is what it's at. If we look at the X model, 16 degrees, and then 15.9, which is correct on the LS, because the setting there knocks it up, because it's 14.5, remember, as standard, so it's 1.4 degrees. It actually changes the loft by on one of the settings there on the cog. So certainly when we look at the spin numbers, there is a colossal difference. Okay, so 4,400 in the max, 254 total, which is still pretty decent for a, you know, for a 5 wood cranked down a little bit. That's kind of what I would hit my own 5 wood, so it's pretty much what I would expect, but it's certainly not going to compare to the others. Now, when we look at the X, we can see that we're getting a bit more yardage out of that, so 254 carry, 277 total, which is kind of what I would expect to hit my 3 wood. We can see the spin there just creeping over 3,000 RPM and the height at 92 feet, so significantly lower than what we're seeing in the max model, which is to be expected. Now, when we move on to LS, okay, so this is just like we've seen, if you've seen the driver video we've done, you know, the LS was particularly good as well, and you can see here it's very good. Now, if you want in a fairway wood that's going to land and stop quickly, the LS isn't the one for you. You can see that the spin is significantly lower. It's almost driver-like really in terms of the spin that we're getting there, maybe top end of driver, but you can see we're carrying it 262 pretty much, so a little further than the X, but if you look at the total distance, it's quite a bit more really, so 284 as an average, which is quite long really for me for a 3 wood. We can see that that flight at 95 feet hasn't really come down massively, but the kind of lofts that these are set at, almost that kind of 16 degree mark, is pretty much what I would set my own 3 wood at the moment. So it should be fairly comparable with what we see here. And certainly I would say that mine is about a 275 club for me if I hit a good one. If it was one that I was putting in the bag, for me, 3-wood is a club that I use off the tee to just try and hit a fairway and hit it a little straighter. I think for me, the X model probably does that a little bit better. So just that little bit more spin and kind of a little bit more kind of softer landing when it hits the ground, I think for me is a little bit better and kind of the ball flight that I want to see. What I also did as a bit of fun is crank the LS1 down as low as it would possibly go. So we can knock 2 degrees off this, so 14.5 down to 12.5. So it's almost like a 2-wood really, I suppose. And we can see here that whilst we're actually getting less carry, the spin drops significantly, ball speed goes up a bit, and we're getting loads more run on it. So as a club off the tee that goes really low, almost like a bullet sort of knuckleball kind of flight, that's exactly what we were seeing in that lowest setting. So it's not carrying any further, but it runs miles. So if you're playing on those courses where maybe it is a little bit firmer and you can get a bit more run on the ball, this thing could go a hell of a long way for you, and certainly 290 for a 3-wood is long. Let us know what you think. Drop your comments in there below and let us know, is this a fairway wood that you're going to try? Do you have the previous model? Is anything that you've seen today really going to sway you one way or another? Let us know in the comments. We love to hear from you, and keep watching our content to help you play more and play better.